Why did the United States take a completely different approach to Russia than it had taken to two earlier adversaries that were in many ways far more destructive?
That's such a great question, and I talk about that in the book as well. And what you're talking about, the way America treated Germany and Japan after the Second World War, I was raised on this when I was a kid. You know, my grandfather was in the Second World War, like a lot of people. And you know, this is the history of the thinking at the time was they completely humiliated and blockaded and brutalized Germany after the First World War. And you know, normally they would never admit to blowback from their terrible foreign policy consequences, except in this case, they can blame it on the Senate for not joining the League of Nations. That's the narrative, that if only America had joined the League of Nations, then it would have been more fair, and then Germany would have been kept down, and that would have prevented the Nazis. So that's the part of the story. They allow the first part of the story, that it was the punitive nature of the victory of World War I that set up the backlash in Germany and helped lead to the rise of the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler. They'll admit that much out of, you know, against interest, only so they can pin the whole failure on Henry Cabot Lodge and the Senate for not going through with the rest of Wilson's program. But in any case, it was widely understood, and even taught in government school when I was a boy, at least, that everyone knew that they had really messed up at Versailles, and that they would not make the same mistake at the end of World War II. So it was a very deliberate policy to build up Germany and Japan and make them our friends. But you notice at the end of the Cold War, it's a different circumstance in that we don't have American troops occupying and reconstructing Russia, right? We have a rump Soviet Union in the Russian Federation, no longer commie, but we don't really have dominance over it the way we have dominance over Germany and Japan. So we can rebuild them so long as they agree that we get to leave a garrison there, you know what I mean, and have real political dominance in their countries and certainly over their foreign policies. So the Bush senior and the Bill Clinton administrations, Dinesh, they both invoked the lessons of Versailles. They both said, yeah, we better not make that same mistake like they did before. But then they went ahead and made that same mistake again. Because look at it from their point of view, right? You got the Soviet Union completely abandons Eastern Europe. America's not going to listen to Ron Paul and Pat Buchanan and just come home. They're going to stay in the NATO alliance. They're going to make sure that the NATO alliance, i.e. the American empire, is the dominant military force in Europe. We don't want Germany and France and Britain and Poland jockeying over power, and Russia. We don't want them jockeying over power, so we will dominate it all just like we have since World War II. But then there's the question of all these Eastern European countries between Germany and Russia. What's supposed to happen to them? And they knew they were lying, by the way, and I demonstrate this in the book.